President Muhammadu Buhari's job approval rating may be negatively affected by his handling of insecurity across Nigeria, going by feelers from the streets, and that's in the event of such an assessment ever taking place. And the numbers of those who are mouthing their desire to have him impeached for demonstrably failing to protect Nigerians from attacks by non-state actors continue to grow in leaps and bounds. Many of those voices have been heard in the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly, where the question on the lips of many seems to be, what can presidential impeachment achieve at this point in the nation's life? We're joining us now from our Rise Abuja studio to have a discussion around this, of course, not to the exclusion of other matters of national significance, is Honourable Sergius Ogun, a member of the House of Representatives representing Eastern Northeast and Eastern Southeast federal constituencies in Edo State. Welcome to the program, Honourable Sergius Ogun. Thank you for joining us again on the morning show. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Very quickly, of late, we've been having many stakeholders calling either for the resignation of the president or his impeachment on account of what is assumed to be his failure to deal with the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria. What's the conversation around this within the National Assembly? Do you think that those who are calling for his impeachment are likely to make any headway? Do you think that he himself would at any point at all, on account of public pressure, resign? And if not, these two options are not available, what is the National Assembly doing as the legislative arm of government to also help solve the challenge of insecurity in the country?
Well, I don't think we're going to get enough signatures to impeach the president anytime soon. We tried that in the 8th Assembly. I personally signed, in my state. But I don't think we had enough signatures. And like I said before, one of these days, I think I said it when I can't quite remember if it was this studio, that a colleague of mine said then, why should he support the impeachment of a Fulanima or somebody from the north to the advantage of somebody from the southwest? Basically saying he doesn't like the president, but why should he support his impeachment then for his southwest person to take over, for Yoruba man to take over? And that was the sentiment then, and it's even stronger today. So I don't think we're going to get any traction there. But if you ask me, the man that needs to be impeached this week is the Senate president, and I think that will happen. So going back to whether the president is going to resign, I don't think so. I mean, this is Nigeria. I don't think so. If anything like that, if you have enough pressure for him to resign, you're going to have people that are going to be paid and mobilized to protest for him to stay. So, and we don't need that right now with all the insecurity. I would really advise that we should start the process of selecting the next president, really. Because by first quarter next year, the parties would have produced their national chairman. Then, maybe 3 months from there, people are running around for their primaries. And then from there, after the primaries, towards the end of next year, election is February. Hoping that there will be peace in this country for us to do election even. So that will be my take. But like I said, I don't think we're going to get enough signatures to impeach the president. But if you ask me what we should be doing, is basically just praying for the president. We should pray for him. The Bible admonishes us to do that. Pray for him and those in authority so that we can also live a peaceful life. That's what the Bible says clearly. I think we've got the National Assembly right now.
The National Assembly as a prayer assembly, as a church, is that what you are saying, Honourable Sergius Ogun? Lawmakers as evangelists.
I just told you now that I signed for his impeachment. I signed in the last assembly. It didn't come to anything. And the sentiment for my brother as the president, I had to support him, is even stronger today than we had in the 8th Assembly. So it's just a waste of time doing that. But he has less than 2 years. People say 2 years to go. He has less than 2 years. After the election, he becomes a lame duck president. Right. So if he run up to the election, nobody will be listening to him.
Because he's on his way out. Now, I'm not surprised by that sentiment that was expressed to you, but the idiocy of thinking in that fashion just never ceases to amaze me. I never get used to how people think. But you said that the Senate president is the one who ought to be impeached. Why?
Yeah, because he said in the villa last week that the governors, the 17 southern governors that met and said that they should stop open grazing, and then talking about restructuring, that they should go and restructure their states first, that elected people shouldn't be talking like that. That's a disgrace. Now, the president has said he doesn't have power to alter the constitution, that the people that can do that will be the National Assembly, or is the National Assembly. And we are in that process. Even the deputy Senate president already brought out a roster for public hearing around the country, zonal public hearing around the country. Now, for those of us in the House of Representatives, we also have an agenda like that to go around the country, public hearing. So we are in the process of amending, reviewing the Constitution. And the chairman of the National Assembly is rebuking, is chastising the governors for saying that they should restructure the country. So if you ask me, any right-thinking person would believe that, look, this process is dead on arrival. He doesn't believe in it. Why would he talk like that? And for him, really, to be talking to a section of the country, governors representing a section of the country like that, he's not fit to be the Senate president. And I strongly believe that the senators from the South will do something about it this week, because they have already repudiated him. The leaders, the senators from the South, already endorsed the position of the governors. We also in the House, we have also done that. So we don't need people that can express their bias in that way and manner. He is supposed to be a leader. I think this number 3 figure they call them has a way of deceiving them. How can a leader at a time like this, when you should be bringing people together, be speaking like that? We don't need people like that. We're even talking about impeachment. He is the leader, the chairman of the National Assembly. If you're going to start any process of impeachment of the president, who is going to superintend over that? The same one we are talking about. So I think he should go, and I'm sure the process has started.
So tell me a little bit about this process, because as if there's something you know that we don't know, Honourable Sergius Ogun. You said some Southern senators are already against him. Have they, started collating names and numbers, and how can they upturn, the House, to be able to get the numbers, to be able to impeach the Senate president? Because this is not the first time, anyway, we'll have impeachment of a Senate president in this country. If you remember the likes of Adolphus Wabara, and that, it's been down the line. But as regards the impeachment of the president, in living memory, the only person that raised an eyebrow, as regards this, or that raised an uproar, let me use that word, as regards this, was when we had Olusegun Obasanjo and I forget his name now, from the eastern part of the country, was a senator then. He was the only one that really pushed, Hon Sergius, that's his name. There was a time he pushed, for an impeachment of the president. That was the first time we saw an uproar, like a brouhaha, and it was Hon Sergius versus the president there. So since then, we've never really seen any senator push that much. Is anything going to change this time? Or like you said, nothing's going to change. But tell me a little bit, things that we don't know, that is already happening in the background as regards impeachment of the Senate president.
Well, I am in the House of Reps, so I leave that for the senators to do. But the senators already repudiated that position.
But you know something we don't know, because you are so confident. You said it's going to happen this week. Honourable Sergius Ogun, you know something we don't know. You're very confident. You said something is going to happen this week. What is going to happen this week?
If I was a senator, my name would be number 1 on the list. Yeah, because like I just told you, the chairman of the National Assembly to come in the villa. So if he wants to work, if he wants to become an executive, he should go there. Maybe he needs to take the job of Lai Mohammed. How can the chairman of National Assembly in the villa saying that the governors should go and restructure their states first? Restructuring is going on in my own state, Edo State. Even to a large extent, what's bringing about the crisis in Kaduna today is part of the restructuring that the governor is doing. For a senator to say the governors should go and restructure their state first, I mean, I don't, well, like I said, if I was a senator, my name would be number 1 on that list. And I know there are some people thinking along this line, but whether they will have enough signatures to take him out is what I don't know. So it's not breaking news.
Okay, no breaking news.
Honourable Sergius Ogun, very quickly, you've talked about the reaction of the Senate President, but can you interrogate some of those recommendations or resolutions by the governors of the 17 states of the southern part of Nigeria? They met on Tuesday, May 12. They came up with 12 resolutions. Beyond the ban on open grazing, there were other issues. Call for national dialogue, a review of the revenue allocation formula, support from government to ensure ranching, and so on and so forth. Don't let me delay us by listing all 12. What do you think of those issues, including the call for restructuring?
Yes, these are governors. They are governors. They are the they are the CEOs of their states. That they came together was the pressure from their states that they brought together to the table in Asaba to discuss. And some of these issues, if not all, are in the public domain. And the northern governors have spoken to this, have taken a position on these same points. So it's nothing new. The governor of Kano State has spoken out loudly against open grazing. And he's a Fulani man. He said that clearly, that Mayeti Yala may not be happy about it, but it's the truth. And he says for those supporting it, they should get their children to carry cattle from anywhere, from Karanamoda to Port Harcourt or anywhere. He's spoken up against it. Talking about restructuring. Everybody today is talking about restructuring. The APC committee that is set up for review of the Constitution actually recommended devolution of power. They agreed with restructuring of this country, a revenue that should go to the state, the federal. They talked about tinkering with the exclusive list. They said so many things there. And that committee was headed by no other person than Malam El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. In 2018, they came out with that report before we went into the 2019 election. I would have thought if this government is serious today, we are talking about, they should have even, they lead, they have majority in the Senate and in the House of Rep. We are reviewing the Constitution right now. I would have thought they would have submitted that position first to the Constitution Review Committee to start working on. Because I can tell you everything they said in that their recommendation that is sent to the president. If they put that on the table today, I'm sure the southern governors will agree with them 100%. And that's what we are talking about. So why deceive people going to an election in 2018? You brought out a recommendation that you are not ready to implement. 2 years into this administration, you are not doing anything about it. And the chairman of the National Assembly that should superintend the review of the Constitution is saying different thing entirely. That tells you that from their speeches, from their body language and everything, they are not ready to do anything. And the governors in the South are telling them, basically speaking, echoing what their people are saying. And nobody should shut them down. That would be a big mistake for anybody to think that they're going to cajole them to stop talking. Because it was not a tea party. It's not somebody got drunk and started talking.
Well,
they all came together and agreed.
On that note, Honourable, I do beg your pardon. We need to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with more with Honourable Sergius Ogun. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Arise News. We're still with Honourable Sergius Ogun, a member of the House of Representatives representing Eson Northeast and Eson Southeast federal constituency in Edo State. Before the break, we were talking about how people have taken rather entrenched positions along parochial lines, as regrettable as that is. Now, if I may play devil's advocate for a second, you're talking about the constitutional review that's ongoing or supposedly ongoing. Is the problem not more fundamental than that? Because we see the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution, as our foundational issue. But is it really? Do we have a hope in hell of surviving as a country, is what I'm asking you. Can the constitutional amendment at this point, restructuring or whatever name you want to call it, really cut the mustard? Or is secession an inevitability that we're merely postponing?
Well, I don't believe that the 1999 Constitution as amended is so bad that we cannot work with that document. I have always said, and I believe so many people will agree with me, that if you just tinker with some aspect of the Constitution, like people have been talking about devolution of power, even the recommendation by the APC committee to the president states that clearly. If we had taken care of some of these things, most of this agitation will not come up. Even that recommendation said that clearly, that you have to cut down expenses coming from the center. People have said that we should have a lean center, then have robust states, and get the state to pay tax to the center. If we had listened to some of this long ago, we would not be where we are today. So I still strongly believe that even if we discard this constitution and bring a new one, it's still going to be as good as the people, the operators of the constitution. So my take would, if we can come out transparently and say, look, we're going to do X, Y, Z, send that recommendation. The president should send that recommendation to the review committee, constitutional review committee. Let's look at it. And then as we go around the zones of the country during the public hearing, we'll hear firsthand from the people. And then we will bring them on board. If we can put all that together and bring out a document that the president will assent to, I'm sure we will solve this problem. You know, I mean, God is not going to come down from heaven to solve our problem here. We live here and we have to solve the problem.
All right, Honourable Sergius Ogun, a lot of people disagree with you on even this process you're trying to do. Afeni Ferry has disagreed with you already. They said, oh, it's a charade, it's not going to work, that it's restructuring or nothing else, that this process of constitutional review is not going to work. And I'm shocked that you're saying this about the Constitution that a lot of people have rubbished and said it's not even the document you should touch, that we the people didn't even agree on it in the first place. So why are you even talking about, why are you saying it can still work? That's what a lot of people are saying, really, that if it has worked or if it can still work, we will not be where we are today. And I expect the House of Reps to talk about things like electoral reform. It looks as though nobody's talking about that. The presidents have not assented to the electoral reform bill. And if, like you said, you made me excited earlier on when you said there was a news story for me by saying, oh, by this week something will happen. If you guys can't get rid of the Senate president like you want to, how about the House of Reps Speaker? What pressure are you putting on him?
Well, the Speaker spoke like a statesman that he is. In that same interview, he said we should harness our diversity. He was speaking about unity. When they tried to spin that to make it sound as if he was against restructuring, he came out, played the entire tape of the interview, and he said he's always been in support of restructuring and devolution of power. So I go back. I'm not saying our constitution is the perfect one. Even in the UK, do they even have a written constitution? There's no house that's perfect. There's no family that's perfect. There's no church that's perfect. There's no mosque that's perfect. There's no community, society, or nation that's perfect. So the document, the 1999 Constitution as amended, is not a perfect document. But like I said, a constitution is as good as the operators. The devolution of power everyone is talking about today, if they had listened long ago, we will not be where we are today. And I dare say, if we can take that as number one item in the review and implement it, most of this tension will come down. Because even in that report, recommendation by the APC committee, they even talked about state police. They talked about funding. They talked about tinkering with the exclusive list. Everything is there. If we can bring that on board today in this review, it will bring down the agitation. But when you do haphazard job and you send it to the president that will not even assent to it, what happens? Talking about the electoral amendment is on. That process is on. I also think it's delayed. Maybe that should have been the first thing that would have happened, maybe in 2019. It should have been amended since 2019. But I think the National Assembly is working hard to make sure it's sent to the president before we go on recess next month.
Okay, Honourable Sergius Ogun, just to make a number of things clear, the House of Representatives has issued a statement saying that at no time did the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, oppose the idea of restructuring, and that it was quoted out of context. The 1999 Constitution that you talk about, the whole concern is that it's not a people's constitution. And those who hold that view think that it needs to be replaced with a people's constitution. Now, is it possible to have a people's constitution without the input of the National Assembly? And then very quickly, a point I referred to earlier on this program, the concern about the 2023 general elections. INEC says the elections will start from February 18, 2023. But some persons are saying there will be no election. Sunday Igboho, the revolutionary activist in the Southwest, has been quoted as saying, well, there will be no election in the Southwest of Nigeria because the Southwest is out of the Nigerian equation. So what is likely to happen? What must the federal government do to make sure that this slide into anarchy does not happen?
Yeah, I go back to the fact that if we can amend this constitution, bring on board things like the devolution of power. The 6 Southwest governors were in Asaba. If tomorrow the president has sent to an amended constitution that says power, a great chunk of the power that they are holding in Abuja today should go to the states, I'm sure the likes of Sunday Igboho and all will calm down. Because the recurrent budget, you look at our budget, our annual budget, 67% or 70% is on recurrent. The workforce is bloated. And that's why people are crying of federal character. That one section of the country is lording over the other section. So if you take out some of the powers and we have a lynch center, these agitations will go overnight. I can tell you that. I know we like high-sounding things. Do away with this document, bring another one, is the implementation. If we can tinker with this constitution, it will still work. Going back to what you said about this constitution was not drafted was not a document prepared by Nigerians. Most of my colleagues in the North will disagree with you. They have disagreed with some of us. They said there was a constitutional review committee. They have the list of every member there from all the constituencies that came down and agreed. Justice Karibe, I think, was the superintendent and all that these were not military men, that the military did not do anything, but it was civilians that drafted the constitution. I can even send you more information on that. So when people, it depends on the part of the country. You say, we the people. They will tell you that, yes, it's the people. The people drafted that constitution. So, but I don't think this is even the time to talk about that. If we put the right things in this document, this constitution, it will still work. Irrespective of what anybody says. It's because of the situation of things, they have given up. That's why they are saying, look, we don't even want to go on this route anymore. But I think I have faith in this country. I believe we can make it work. We all just need to calm down and talk to one another.
Well, the chairman of that committee was Justice Nikitobi, just because we've run out of time.
Well, Honourable Sergius Ogun, thank you very much. About the 1999 Constitution, the argument is that it's a product of a decree number 24 of 1999. And if it's the product of a decree, it makes it a military document. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much indeed.